Hello, everyone. Good morning to Brazil and good afternoon to Europe. My name is Berna Windisbauer from the Austrian Research Promotion Agency. I will be the moderator for today's webinar. We'll just wait a couple of minutes and at 3 o'clock, 3 minutes actually, and at 3 o'clock sharp, we're going to start. So it is 3 o'clock. I think we can start. Good afternoon again. I'm Berna Windisbauer from the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, shortly called FFG. FFG is an innovation agency in Austria, providing grants and other support measures to companies, SMEs, and researchers in the applied science area. FFG is also partner of the ENRICH in Brazil initiative, which is the organizer of today's webinar. Very shortly, I want to mention about ENRICH in Brazil for those who are new. It's a European Commission funded initiative aiming to increase research and innovation partnerships between Europe and Brazil. With this purpose, we organize various activities such as webinars like today, matchmaking events, innovation tours, market studies, and provide individual support to those who request specific help to connect Brazil or Europe. However, with the Corona challenge that we're all facing now to different stages, we will be organizing more online activities, as you can imagine, until this is over. And at the end of the presentation, I will inform you about our upcoming activities, upcoming webinars mostly. We are currently discussing about adding some new webinars on Corona and specifically how to deal with it in Europe, and not in terms of medicine, of course, but more on how do we adapt ourselves and our organizations to this new working conditions. How do we keep supporting, for example, in our case, the companies and the government programs, for example, in Europe, applied in different countries to support SMEs to pass this stage as harmless as possible. So once it is fixed, it will be announced on the website. Today's webinar is about the Austrian career grants for researchers abroad. It is actually doesn't only target researchers, so the details will be given by the presenter today. Our speaker today is Mrs. Christine Kreuter, who is the manager of this program at FFG. After her presentation, I will also provide a one slide which includes various links about the Austrian research innovation landscape, resources and opportunities. Before we start, I'd like to remind some settings. Just a moment. I hope you can hear us. You can use the telephone or your computer microphone. Here again, the details of the connection if you prefer to use the phone setting. If you have any question, please write your question under questions or chat functions on the control panel. We will not be taking questions through speaking, and then we will answer the questions after the end of the presentation. And as you can imagine, recordings will be available on the ENRICH in Brazil website after this event. Christine, I think you can now, I'll give you the floor.
Okay.
For your presentation. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Perfect. And the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Berna. My name is Christine Kreuter. I'm working also for the Austrian Research Promotion Agency, and I'm here today to give you some information about career grants. Career grants, what am I going to talk about? I would like to give you an overview about the topics I would like to mention. What are career grants? Who can apply? What is the amount of funding and which costs can be refunded? Then I would like to mention the criteria, the application process, and at the end, I would like to give you information about the reporting and payment. So let's start. What are career grants? Career grants have been designed for individuals who want to take up a position in R&D in Austria. And in order to help them to consider also Austria as a place to work at, we would like to give financial support to people who want to come to Austria, and we provide an easy handling process for this type of grant. And depending on the situation you are in, we have 3 different types of grants which we can offer. The first type of grant is an interview grant. Let's say you're in contact with a company or a research institution and you're interested on a vacancy. Maybe you already had a Skype interview and now you are at the point that they want to get to know you personally and you want to get to know the company. So this would be the point where you could apply for an interview grant, and most of the costs which can be refunded here are traveling costs for coming to Austria and accommodation costs. Let's say your interview has been positive and you decided that you want to take up this position in Austria. You could apply for a relocation grant. This is the next step. Within this relocation, you can get refunded also traveling costs for you and your partner and your children, shipping costs, for example, you might have the need to learn the German language, or another need people have is that they have to find an apartment, and you could get professional help for finding an apartment. This cost position could also be included in this grant. The third type we are offering is a dual career grant. The dual career grant can be applied by your partner, and within this grant, costs can be included, like a German course for your partner, or maybe you have a need to get organized in Austria. You can, for example, take a course of intercultural training or career advice. So this would be cost positions for this grant. The first two need to get applied for by the researcher or the person coming to Austria, and the third grant has to be applied for by the partner of the researcher. Now, who can apply? Every individual person living abroad can apply who intends to take up a position in R&D in Austria. The position has to last for at least 12 months, and it has to have a place of work in Austria. The minimum degree you have to present is at master level. Bachelor degree is not sufficient. We cannot fund people who have bachelor degree. The costs we cover, I mentioned before. For the interview grant, we have a maximum amount, which is 80% of the costs occurred. Traveling costs and accommodation costs I mentioned before. For the relocation grant, the maximum amount is 2,000 euros, and I mentioned the cost positions also before. The integration costs in the dual career grant also has a maximum amount of 2,000 euros. You can find all details in our tender guidelines. I put you the link here. Maybe the best thing is you can get all details from there. One important thing I want to tell you is that no double funding is allowed. Let's say your employer is refunding a certain cost positions, then you cannot get refunding within the FFG again. Now, how to apply? We have a tool called eCall. I put you the link here. You can apply within this tool. It is pretty easy. You get presented a couple of masks you have to go through. Basically, we are asking details from the applicant. Then you have to select between the different types of grants. For example, there you have the possibility to select that you want to apply for an interview grant. You have to give a short description of the job you plan to take up. And then you have to give us your bank details. And at last, you have to press submit in order that we get your application. It is important that you apply before the interview takes place or before you come to Austria. Otherwise, we cannot accept your application. Now, let's say you have been here for an interview or you are already relocated. Of course, you also have to send us some report documents, and the deadlines are also depending on the type of grant. For the interview, it's 1 month after your interview that we expect your documentation. For the relocation grant, it's 3 months, and for the dual career grant, it's 6 months after the date of the relocation of the researcher. It's not from the partner. This date is getting calculated from the relocation date of the researcher. Now, how do I get the funding? After we receive your documentation, we review it and maybe we have questions, maybe something is missing. We are coming back to you in these situations. And if we checked your documents and if we think they're okay, we make the payment on the bank account you provided in the application. I want to give you a short example of the whole process so you can imagine all the steps together. First, the applicant sends the application. Then we check the application and we will contact you in case of something is missing. But in most cases, we are coming back to you within 3 to 5 days and we will tell you if you're eligible or not. Then the interview takes place or the relocation takes place. And after that, you send us your documentation, for example, your receipts, but we have other forms we require from you. I will tell you at the end where you can find them. And after the review of the documentation, the payment will be done. I want to give you a figure. We have about 500 applications since last year. The call started in April 2019, and we had about 310 male applicants and 190 female applicants. The applicants are mostly from Europe, but we also have Asian nationalities, people from North America, and also from South America. Now, summarizing, I want to let you know what this funding is about and what this funding is not about. It's a funding for individuals and not for companies. Companies and research institutions cannot take part in this call. It is a financial support for researchers living abroad for traveling and for relocation costs. This funding is no project funding. The accord costs will be refunded after the interview and relocation, which means that you have to pay first for all the invoices and you get refunded only afterwards. We do not make any job offers. However, I will give you a link later on where you can find vacancies. And we do not give any guidance regarding entry or employment regulations. And I give you another link where you can find information within these topics. Now, this link, the first link, is where we have all our information regarding the career grants. I will try to click on it so I can show you the downloads. So this is the web page we are having to inform you. Here you've also find the link to our application tool eCall under the section How can I apply? And at the very end you find one section Downloads, and here you can find the tender guidelines, which holds more information and more details. And the next this form you will need within the documentation process. Wait. So I'm not sure if you still hear me.
Yes, we do.
I just will go. Okay, thank you very much. Now I want to show you another link which might be useful for you. This link is a link to our job Börse, which is a job exchange. This is a unique service in Austria, and it shows vacancies in the field of R&D. I'm trying to open it up. Yes, now we can see how it looks like. You can make different. You have here an advanced filter where you can search in different areas and also within the type of organization. And you get presented various vacancies, which are from internships to PhDs and also to senior positions. Not all of them are in English, but there are also job vacancies presented in English. Trying. There's another link I would like to share with you. This link is to an organization for incoming and outgoing people. They provide and support information for international students and researchers in the fields of entry, residence, employment, and they also run a big database for grants and scholarships. And there you can make your own researches in case you need funding for certain projects, for example. And I have one more link for you. This link gives you or brings you to a guideline which might be interesting for you. It holds information regarding employment and residence issues, which might be interesting for you. And it holds lots of other links to different topics when you're coming to Austria, for example, tax issues, visa, and permit to stay in Austria. So this link might be really interesting for you as well. Now, I hope I could give you some information which is valuable for you, and I'm looking forward to receive your application, and I hope that you could take some information with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christine, for the presentation. It looks very clear-cut, but nevertheless, if you have any questions, this is the time to write your questions on the bar of the GoToWebinar. You'll see questions or chat areas where you can indicate your questions. We'll wait a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I can show my slide, which is two complementary information. If I can get my screen back, just a moment. So I also, complementary to what Kristen has presented, we brought together information about STI location Austria. This slide provides the most important information we gathered under 5 categories. They are science, technology, innovation in Austria, business platforms, invest in Austria, major STI players, and I cannot see, and the funding. This information gathered here by various Austrian agencies and organizations in addition to FFG. So all the links that you will find here not provided by FFG. These are the services provided by various Austrian organizations, for example, the Austrian Chamber of Economy or Commerce, called Wirtschaftskammer, and their affiliated organizations such as Advantage Austria, then Austrian Business Agency for foreign investments and settlings in Austria, Austrian Exchange Service for researchers. So, but it will give you quite an information, or first-hand information, I would say, and links where you can go through and find some useful information. All those links are working. And if you have any questions, you can either contact me or directly to the responsible organization or agency that is indicated in the link. For example, I would like to show you number, if I can manage to click, yeah. For example, of the sectoral information, this is Advantage Austria's website, which works under the Austrian Chamber of Chamber of Commerce. So they have very nice info sheets about different sectors, as you can see here. For example, railways, education, security and defense, renewable energy. These are all PDF documents indicating some facts and figures about Austria's relevant sources and industries in these areas. Some of the information are available in English and second language. For example, this is available in Russian, some others are available in German or in other languages, so it's worthwhile to check. The other thing that Christine also mentioned, for example, the Austrian database for scholarships and research grants, as you see here, there are quite a number of opportunities available for those researchers who or students who wants to come to Austria for a while, for a temporary time. So you can find here all these different types of grants and scholarships, awards, and so on and so on. And there's another information where you can find in those links, for example, information about the universities, as indicated here, links, and in different languages. So going back to the presentation. Yeah, I see no questions, Christine, so I assume everything is clear cut. So I'll go back to the next slide. Thank you very much. I also would like to mention briefly the upcoming webinars of ENRICH in Brazil. The next one is March 27 on science and technology ecosystem in Brazilian states, different states. So we'll start with, I don't know how to pronounce this, but Ceará, I think, and then Santa Catarina. It goes on like this. But as I said at the beginning, we're discussing currently how we can integrate the measures at the organizational level or at the national level to deal with the Corona challenge. So this list or the calendar can be updated. Yeah, and please visit our website. And if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to our newsletter. So thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, stay safe and stay connected. Thank you.